Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, to Beyond Hegemony. Here, let me change this page real quick. I'm trying to jump between two different pages here. Anyways, I'm trying to go live here on LinkedIn as well. Let me see if I can see if I can do this. I'm not very good at this technical stuff anymore. So, um, how do we stop sharing? Forgot how to unshare. Okay. I did this last time, didn't I? Anyways, since we're recording, we can, and this is going to go on the podcast. I promise that I will put up the other ones as well. I just have been very, very busy with my coaching practice. And so I have had to prioritize my clients over putting up content. But I promise that I will get those other podcast episodes up. How do I close this? Oh no. Anyways, guys, today we're having the lovely Hannah Litt join Sahana and I. Hannah and I were on a phone conversation. I said, "Hey, do you want to do the live today?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Awesome." So Hannah, come on, unmute yourself.
Really impromptu there. Like,
Very, very impromptu, but I'm glad that you were able.
what we do.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you were able to join us. We've been having some deep, heartfelt conversations over the last couple of days. And so I thought, like, well, and then she told me she was banned from LinkedIn. And that right there made me go, well, let's talk about that. And of course, we have lovely Sahana. Hi, Sahana. Sahana, you're still
Hi,
muted.
I was on mute.
And so we have Sahana joining us today. I'm still trying to go live on LinkedIn here right now. I don't know why I'm having so
I'm
many
honored to be sharing the space with you and Anna. Very honored.
Likewise.
Yeah.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah. So, you know, it's been a crazy time in the world right now. And so, you know,
Well,
life is
I kind of
lifing.
feel there is this rule of thumb, at least that's what I do. If someone is banned by a Musk or a LinkedIn platform, that means obviously they're doing the right thing for humanity.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
I mean, that's the litmus test. Your banned means, oh my God, you're my tribe. You are the right person.
Yeah.
right. Right. Exactly. And that's how I feel like it, you know, we're all on the precipice of being banned for what reason? And most of the people on LinkedIn and on other platforms know that Elon Muskie is not my favorite person. And as he starts a sort of a coup in the United States, what is it called? Technocracy. Is that how you say it? Technocracy. Technocracy is taking over, and that is a very interesting backstory. So, Hannah, tell us what happened.
So I don't remember when it started, but I had messaged LinkedIn about 3 times, just kind of off my own back, and just said, look, you're not keeping us safe here, because I was getting a lot of hate, like a lot, and people would go from like platform to platform. So I kind of just said, look, and I'd been seeing other people get banned. So I went to kind of LinkedIn support and I said, like, you're not keeping us safe. I said, and if you are not here to keep Black, brown, Muslim people safe, just say it, like with your whole chest. Just say you hate us, like it's fine. Like, so at least we know where we stand and we can do what we do. I said, because you're quite happy to take our money every month. So I've had a few of these conversations. Um, and then what happened? And I said, so then basically I had somebody that came, I get hate all the time and I generally just meet it with humor. It's not it is what it is. But I had somebody that kind of went too far. So I said to LinkedIn, I said, can you remove this person? And they came back and literally it took them 3 days. They were like, no. I said, because it puts not just me, but it puts my family in danger. Like, so what are we doing here? How are we? And they wouldn't do it to the point where I had to then go in to the police station. I had to, file a police report, etc. Not that they did anything, but that's a whole different story. But even the police were like, "What did LinkedIn do?" And I was like, "Nothing, absolutely
Wow.
nothing." And I literally said to him, I said, "If anything happens to me, I said, just know that I want this in writing that you're responsible."
Yeah.
Um, so they just wouldn't, and then they came back. And then what they said is that okay, we're gonna think it took about 2 or 3 days. They were like, okay, we're gonna handle it. I said, well, no. They said, okay, but we can't tell you what we're gonna do. I said, well,
What?
would that person still be on the platform? We can't tell you. I said, okay. I said, but can you tell me that they will be dealt with appropriately? I said, because I've seen people taken off this app for literally nothing, for emojis, for nothing. So you're
Mhm.
quite happy to take people off. And I said, I can name you at least 40 people I know that have been taken off this app. And they were like, we can't tell you. And the speed in which they would take people off the app, but only certain kinds of people. So
Mm.
I then went back and I said, look, it's now a police matter. Like this is like harassment, this is that. Um, I said it's potentially it's a hate crime. I said, so
Hmm.
my chat. So what they'd done is they'd almost disabled my chat logs. So I said, I can't download my chat logs. I said, can you send them to me? And they refused to send them to me.
What?
They refused to send me my chat logs. Um, and in that time, I said, literally, I was up, I think, until 4 o'clock in the morning trying to sort. And I'm not too fussed about me, but I've got my family, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'd stayed up and I'd said to them, can you just tell me it'd be done? I said, I want to speak to someone. I want someone to phone me. And they were like, yes, yes. And nobody phoned me in the end. And then that happened. I think it happened again. Um, and then I eventually got banned. And I was like, why have I got banned? And I looked at the post and me being me, I didn't even spell the thing right. So I had just said literally, long live the resistance, long live resistance. That's all I'd wrote. And that's what,
Hmm.
but the post that they had banned me for was from like two or 3 months ago. So obviously someone has been trawling through my post and looking
Oh.
for something. So they banned me, and then literally I messaged them, and then they unbanned me. I think it took a few hours, and then what had happened is that they'd banned me again, and I was like, and they said, oh no, we'd re-looked at it, and we wanted, and I said, I've had people on my post literally, the most vilest things, like literally putting images of women being raped on my post. I said, and you have not banned them. I said, and I sent them some screenshots where I had someone that it was the most disgusting Muslim hate that was on there, like calling us like pigs and, go and lick your black rock. It was vile. I said, but this person didn't get banned. And so I showed them examples and I said,
Wow.
and I said, there is a specific page here that will target. I said, and when that person comes onto my post, because I don't retaliate, then millions of other people will come on the post as well. And I said, so how are you actually measuring? They may not say things that violate your like community standards or whatever they are, your professionalism, whatever you want to call it, but it's harassment. It's harassment. I said, do you look at the amount of times people post? I said, and that page should, I said, and you can't block a page either. I said, you can't block a page. Um, so I left it with them. But the person that I spoke to, eventually he was okay. But then it reverted back to the other person. And now they've told me we're just investigating it. We're investigating your post. And because what had happened was when I would report, I wouldn't even get a notification to say, you've reported or we're looking into it. Other people would report. I would tag links into the post. Nothing. So I just said, like, what is it that you are investigating now? Because we're about what it's October, November, December. We're like 4 or 5 months down the line. So what is it that you're investigating now? Why does it take so long? Because it didn't take you long to chuck me off the app.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it really just comes down to, was that person look like you, me, or Sahana? Or did
Absolutely.
it?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
And
So,
also, if that person is saying what the so-called technocratic fascists want them to say, oh, well, they're most welcome
Yeah.
with open arms.
But I said, you know what? If
That's
you
the
want to kick
that's
people,
exactly how the algorithms are designed.
but I said, if you
yeah.
want to kick people off the app for violating I said, fine, do that. Kick us all off. But make it fair. Make it fair and and do it for everybody then. Don't just do it for certain populations of people. Do it for everyone.
And I mean, I honestly, I don't know what's the solution, because right now the technocratic control is with the bros in Silicon Valley, a large amount of it. There are
Yes.
other breakaways, but I personally, I have, stopped, not completely stopped, but reduced my engagement on these apps
Mm.
purely because I do not want to be a fodder for their AI algorithm training LLMs.
Wow, that's true. Yeah.
And but the tragic part is right now these are the apps that reach the maximum number of people
But
globally.
it,
Uh,
My tribe
uh,
and even
yeah,
those who are not in my tribe. So what is the alternative? And I think it's time to chuck the entire US and its gang of mafias out of our lives and think of alternatives. I mean,
and
they're a gang of mafias. They're
right,
just
but
yeah.
oligarchs and mafias.
yeah, and I also think that there is a point where, and we have collective power. If us came off that app, if we all stopped paying our premium subscription or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I think there is a real big piece around actually us coming together and recognizing the power that we have. There is no link. There is no LinkedIn. There is no. If people are not
Yep.
there, there is no LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
the way that they've almost made it so we can't function with it. So, another thing, I got really annoyed. I've been kicked off like TikTok, etc., which is, frustrating. But LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who's starting their own business right now, LinkedIn is a big tool that I use actually to generate business. So not only
Mm-hmm.
are they just taking us off the app, they're messing with our income.
That too. And they know it.
And they-
And they also limit our audience. I think one of the biggest frustrating things for me is that I will have this huge influx, and then I'll have nothing on the posts and the content that I put on there. I'll have, um, the algorithm will show so much engagement, and then it'll be nothing. And it's usually on the ones that would generate me income.
Yes,
Okay,
same.
that's the posts that would generate me income are the ones that they push down on the algorithm. And I find that extremely frustrating.
Yeah,
You know, I got I I got a TikTok uh warning for saying the word idiot. Idiot. Idiot's just a word that means idiot. I didn't say idiot, I said idiot. But that became an actual strike along with like some of the most ridiculous things. And so they sent me a warning the other day. And I swear on whatever energetic force you want to talk about, it was nothing at
I've
all.
had that. Yeah, and I think what
Yeah.
what what I've been kicked off TikTok for is really interesting because if I will post videos about what's happening in Palestine, and it
Hmm.
really baffles me that actually this is actually happening. You're more concerned with people showing it than it actually happening, right? Because
Uh,
a video I made, like it's not an offensive video. I'm just showing you what's happening. So you're more offended, and you take people out for just literally saying what is actually happening, and then you'll kick people off.
yeah. Yeah. And that's their goal, because really all of this is the social media and media structure is just the narrative builder, just
Yes.
like the Bible and every other religious text was, just like how newspapers were and how television was. They've just totally just shifted it to another brand or medium, and TV, movies, it's all with the same goal: control what we manifest.
Yeah. And this whole freedom of speech, who does it apply to? Right? Whose freedom of speech? Right?
Yeah.
What is freedom of speech? Because I always say like freedom of speech is fine, but it's not free of you're not free of consequences. Um,
Exactly.
but when people are genuinely just speaking, I've known people that got kicked off LinkedIn for just posting an emoji like emojis. Also TikTok, someone literally did a screenshot and they'd done like the vomit, like feeling sick emoji, and they were like,
Mhm.
this violates our. But what do you mean? Um, but tech is, I always say now, we're almost in a digital war. Like this is us connecting. LinkedIn is where I found my friends, I found my people, I found my community, and that's why. Otherwise, I'd leave. But this is where I found, since COVID, this is where I found my community. But I've always known because, and I try and get everyone to read this book. It's called The Palestinian Laboratory, but they've just started doing it as
Oh
like a full.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Hmm.
when we look at how AI is being used to literally kill people, like, it's not, and we're only probably seeing about this much of it. Uh,
Hmm.
so how it's actually used as a tool. But also, our attention spans as well. Everyone's like, make a video that's a minute or less because we can't concentrate for longer than that.
Because
Uh,
we've been trained to do
right.
by social media only to be able to do that for a short period of time. Yeah, it's very frustrating to me. I often am in arguments with my son about the amount of content that he's taking in on YouTube, these little short snippets, and he can't hold a conversation longer than a minute because that's that's the normalization, you know?
Yeah. And then we
Um,
pass that on and when I sound really old here, but like when they've created iPhones, for example, that and I remember my nieces and nephews, they could use them when they were one. Right? They were 1 year old and they were able, and they've built these things. But what I did find really funny was about the Israeli AI that they made.
that was awesome.
Was brilliant. But again, this really goes into what has been fed into AI. So
Yeah,
again, we have a
yeah.
little. So I spoke to a friend of mine, and he was saying, we were talking about this, and then I watched is it Mo Gauda on he used to work for Google. And he saw the way, so a lot of people that have been quite high up have left because they've seen the way AI is going and they don't agree. And he
Hmm.
was saying when there is times of like tragedy or whatever, it's really our responsibility to feed AI with the good stuff, right? Because it's what we're
Yeah,
feeding it. So if we keep sowing
right,
destruction and don't get me wrong, we have to show it because what other option do we have? But also having that balance. So I
right.
have my personal Facebook, for example. I don't really post on there in terms of actually like my pro-Palestinians because I need all that's on there is hilarious memes like baby penguins, like cats wearing dressing gowns and that kind of stuff because I need a space which is just literally that, whereas where I go to just have a bit of a giggle, but it's almost like and I keep that platform there purposefully because otherwise every time I scroll on through my social media, all I'm seeing is it's traumatizing.
Yeah.
Yep. It's desensitizing as well. And that's
And
a
it's
huge
fear.
goal.
It's fear because fear is
Fear,
such a
fear, fear.
strong emotion. People will do whatever they need to out of fear. So if we keep watching this stuff and getting scared
Hmm.
and living in fear, then of course we're going to comply.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. That's a perfect allegory for life too, because what's been happening, what's been used for centuries, for eons, is the fear of death or the fear of oppression, fear, and it's an energy. It really is an energy. And one of the things I had to do during the war, and wasn't even a war. It was a genocide. It was just so horrific. And I told you about the dream that I had about it. where the IDF soldiers looked like reptiles and they were just doing horrible things to the people. And it was just like, oh, it was that. And then I said, okay, I've got to stop because my energy field, the higher our vibration is, the more powerful we are to create a different type of reality together collectively. And right now, that was a purposeful thing that they did, constantly showing the the massacre and the death. It need to be seen by certain people, you know, but
Right.
you knew it was happening. You know, my culture has already lived it. Shahana's culture has already lived it. So it's traumatizing for us because
Mhm.
we don't need to see that. It's that needs to see it because they're always defying or denying that that's what is, and has been for a very long time.
But
But
also
yeah,
people would share, like people would be Nate, and I'd be like, that's someone's brother, that's someone's
yeah,
father, someone's son. Also, if you are going to just, give them some dignity. And I think what we've seen, and I've been on this. I used to be, as a child, I was terrified of death. I lost my aunt quite young.
mm,
But what we're dealing with, and this is what they probably didn't expect, is that you're dealing with a population of people that don't fear death.
hmm
When you don't fear, when you take that element of fear away, I no longer fear death anymore. And it used to be
hmm
really like I probably still won't go on a roller coaster in case I fall off and die. But it's not, I used to have to get, and I haven't been on a plane since, but I used to literally have to get on a plane, and whoever sat next to me probably thought I was really weird, but I'd have to sit there and be like, Hannah, this is not how you're going to die, mainly because you're not cool enough to die this way. So I'd have to have that word, like speak to myself and be like, you're not going to die here. And really, but again, it comes back to how do we reprogram ourselves and how do we even just saying it out loud that no, like you're not cool, you're not a cool, you're not cool enough to die in a plane, but that's not you. That's not the way you're going to go out. It's going to be something really boring. So I'd have to say that to myself because it was a strong emotion. Um, so for me, when they're now dealing with people that actually know, as Muslims, we know that this life is temporary. Um,
that part,
so, so when
that
you're
part.
dealing with people that actually don't fear death, what do you do?
See, I think that was the huge part about it. I stopped fearing death a long time ago too. And when you let go of the fear of death, you kind of just live. You live better, you live bigger, and you live in the moment. And that is a very powerful sense of being. And it's a very powerful frequency as well. And I bet you anything is probably the thorn in the side of most Israelis because you don't fear death. Therefore, you live big and you still live with kindness and generosity. The videos of how well the quote unquote hostages were treated should be embarrassing.
Right, the gift bag. They
Absolutely
got a gift bag
embarrassing.
with a certificate. Like it's just
Yeah,
I'll
we
make it up.
made it out alive. It was a joke. And the
Right.
fact that there was humor in it and those people probably had the biggest change of heart
Yeah.
and they're going to take that's why they didn't want them back
One didn't
because
want
they
to
would
leave.
come back. Yeah, they didn't want them to come back and say, hey, they were the kindest people I ever encountered in my life. They really took care of us,
That's why they don't let them speak afterwards, do they? They don't let
no,
them. They don't let them.
no,
And I remember
no.
the last time around we had the hostages were released. We there was like we've seen the flour shortage, like flour, like bread, and it's a really big thing. They they
Mhm.
had gone and made him a cake for his birthday. They'd gone and found flour and made it and baked a cake. And I was like, but that doesn't fit a narrative,
That's right.
because actually they're supposed to be terrorists, but actually they were baking a cake. Like, do terrorists bake cake? I don't know. So, and what we've seen now also just out here is the word terrorist has really lost its meaning now. Because I
Okay.
know that if someone says, I was in prison for terrorism, I'm like, okay, what did you do? Something big, or did you hold a sign? Right? Because we know people in our network here, in our community here, that have, been holding a sign, and they've just been existing, and so it without even knowing, or maybe knowing, I don't know, they have really poo-pooed their idea of terror. Nobody's scared of it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what they've done? They've completely flipped the narrative unwittingly. So the rest of the world, apart from the propagandized white-skinned people, whoever they are, the rest of the world have always seen through. But now we are completely repulsed. So the axis of evil today looks like, you know who, the white skin and the suits. And the axis of resistance and the axis of love looks like Palestine.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well,
To
this is
everyone
not
across the world. And this is
across the
something
world.
across the world. And this is something they never wanted to happen, where the world unites, sees
Yeah.
through, and well, they have achieved for us what we were struggling at the cost of many lives. But like Hannah
Yeah.
said, when there is no fear of death, there is only kindness, courage, dignity, and resilience, and a lot of love, even amongst all of that. I mean, I love that little viral video of this mother going berserk. Never mind that house is completely blown apart. She's looking for some preparation that she had made and kept, and which the Israelis stole. And she's so concerned about that the Israelis got to eat it and not her loved ones. And she's standing in a
Hmm.
ruined kitchen, mourning what she prepared with so much love.
I did a post the other day, because I think it was really important for me to say that although we're seeing all this and we see their resilience and we see their strength, it's really important that we don't dehumanize them in another way.
Yes,
Hmm.
You know, that this is okay and we legitimize it and be like, but they're fine, they're strong. Because I know plenty of, and they're not okay. You know, they're not
they're
okay.
not. Yeah.
Who would be
Same
okay with
thing.
not having to
Same
eat?
thing with Black women.
Yeah. So it's really important that, yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. That we don't watch this and go, but you know, they're okay. But those people that are in the resistance, it's okay. They're still sons and parents and you know, and they still don't have access to food or, you know,
And they're still
that it,
traumatized.
I know people that are eating weeds, right?
Yeah.
So it's really important that we don't dehumanize to the point where we kind of go, but they're strong, they can handle this, because that again is just as harmful as, you know, I've had people cry to me on the phone being like, look, I'm not scared of death, but I'm scared of starving. I'm not scared of death, but my heart can't take any more loss. You know, I can't.
Mm.
I just sit on my roof and I look at the stars, or you know, it's really important that we still remember they're still human beings.
Yes, yes, yes. Except that they have tons of humanity where the other side has none.
You know,
That's the only difference.
but
They're
that's fear,
human
isn't it?
beings.
They're operating from fear. This isn't an
Yeah.
excuse. An anti-Zionist, but fear is the tactic that has been put in. They have dehumanized a population of people.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just there. It's not just. I posted a video this morning, and it was an Indian woman telling an Arab woman man to go back to where he came from. So you know,
Mhm.
within our own communities, that need to assimilate to whiteness has become so strong that actually it's not just a white face that does it anymore, because that need for, you know, white is superior, I'm going to want to
Yeah.
assimilate, etc., etc. That
Yeah, the
we
stamp of
have,
approval.
yeah, we
I'll be
have. We're
accepted
seeing
approval.
we're seeing it in Congo, we're seeing it in Sudan. It's black and brown people, but who's pulling the strings behind it, right? Because this need
Right,
to relate to whiteness is huge.
right. I just realized something the other day and I made a video about it and I talked about it with a client as well. The entirety of humanity on this planet has been indoctrinated into a sort of Wizard of Oz type of world, right? It's the perfect, it's funny because they keep remaking the movie, right? Wicked and all these things it's to get this kind of idea in their head. Everyone's become flying monkeys,
Yeah,
you know, because they're so fear-based, they're so afraid to support people like you and I and Shahana and other people who are, I would say, freedom fighters, because we're talking about freedom on a much higher level. than just being able to, say something, or just it's the freedom to be, the freedom to know yourself. Because I would say the majority of the people who are these flying monkeys don't know who the hell they are without the structures of hegemony. They don't know their value without their car in the model. They don't know how to, they don't know how to work the land. They don't know how to prepare their own food. They don't know how to do a lot of things. And I tell you, the lower on the economic table, the less likely they know how to do anything for themselves. They
Of
have
course.
absolutely been indoctrinated to the false pretense and ideas of luxury. And all the meantime, they're being poisoned.
I know.
I don't know if I don't know if you've seen all of these lawsuits against these big major food companies.
Yeah.
They have knowingly and willingly been poisoning the populations of the world.
Yeah.
The United States is the worst
Yes, it
as
is.
far
Yeah,
as
'cause there's food in
ingredients.
the United States that's illegal here because of
Yeah.
the amount of nonsense they put in. But I also think there is this, and I was filming a documentary, and it's about gratitude. So I was often to speak to people that are kind of here, or I hear them on like TikTok lives, and they'll be like, "But it's okay, like I've come here and I've got an education, and it's better than me." But what people can't do is imagine what our lands and our countries would be like had they just freaking left us alone.
Oh
Do you know
my
what I mean?
goodness.
They can only see it for what it is now, and they'll be like, but we have more opportunities here. It's better here. But that's because literally they've destructed our lands and we've had to rebuild, and
Mm,
and white supremacy has now been embedded in it. But they can't visualize what it would have been like had we just been left the hell alone. Because actually
globally.
we were all doing all right globally, right? Um, until they stole our
So
resources.
well that they came and stole all the
Stole it.
shit that
Right,
mattered to make the land barren, to make the people weak. I mean, every place we're from was
right.
full of abundance. And the
I-
truth be told, it still is.
Yeah.
It's just that a few people create scarcity. If we
Mhm.
all had an abundance mindset, we would see we genuinely have everything we need. We just need to take it back from these greedy mother effers.
But I think um, things are changing now, which as much as we see so much destruction and we see things are to, I don't know if anybody's seen about the president of Burkina Faso,
Ooh, I
right?
love him.
Right? Is it, but, he's had 20 assassination attempts on him, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know if
Uh-huh.
you know, kind of, but essentially he's 35 years old, used to be in the military, just kind of your average person, but it's really about his people. So he was like, I'm going to give you all bonds and we're going to invest back. Within 2 years, he got 4.7 billion and said to the West, here's your money, here's the debt that we owe you, leave us alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
And
community
that
worldwide,
only happened though because Russia came in and helped them. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that, you know, they're they're wise about that, but I see a very sovereign
yeah.
country becoming in Mali and Niger, and Burkina Faso.
And
And
Mali are doing the same. They're not shipping any because they make shea butter. So they're like, no, you're not just having the raw materials. You'll buy it from us. So I think the problem that we have is when leaders are coming in, they're all these old and I think in organizations, I was saying this, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the film The Intern with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway, but she's like this really young CEO, but he's like this really kind old head that is her intern. And he's just there by the side, like guiding her for things that she doesn't know. But she's a younger person that is ready to move because we're more aware. So I think there has to be this shift where we have younger CEOs that are, built with humanity and justice and
mhm,
get all of this stuff. But you know what? It's always good to have an older head just to like make sure you don't go too wild, but someone that again has humanity. But I think it's time we have too many old people of different that will fix mindsets that
that's right.
based
It's
on
not the age, it's the mindset. It's the mindset. Because I
right.
would be considered old, you
No,
know?
over 21.
I know black don't crack, but I could be considered old. I'm much
But I'm
older
talking
than
like
you.
70, like when Joe Biden was basically a corpse.
Yeah.
It's not that,
No,
right?
that's geriatric. He should
Did
not
you
have
look?
been in
Right, he's
office.
old.
Him
Um,
and him and Trump. They too old to
right.
be doing
No,
anything
but
but
this is what I mean.
sitting
Like, that,
down. Hmm?
which shows that actually none of these leaders are here for humanity.
None. No, they're here to keep the wealth in the pockets of the same people who are their puppeteers, who are the people who are actually running the show that we don't see in the forefront. They're figureheads, and that's what all political people, they're just another layer of actors in the matrix. So you said something. It just went right out of my head though. Oh man, it was an important point. But anyways, you know, we've got no, now I remember. So I don't know if you guys know, I think I told you that I just wrote and published a book called Reclaiming Humanity, a blueprint for collective healing and resistance. Because I say that it is through our healing that we resist. Okay. So in my book, I talk about the purposeful essay and assault of young people, of children. And the reason why I bring that up, because of what you said about the young people moving things forward. Why do you think they perpetrate that trauma on our children? If you, to keep a control, to keep a energetic. Children come in with all this light and this energy and possibilities, and we immediately cut their wings or let the air out of their balloons and cut off their imagining because they're powerful manifestors. They're
Yeah.
powerful. And if we kind of just got out of the way and let them do what they were going to do, I wonder what the world would look like.
Right. But I've always said that because we've seen videos of like the kids. I saw a video and he was, I think, 14, but the way he spoke with so much passion, it was at a protest. And I was like, brother, he was prime minister, if I'm honest. Because we know the world would be a better place, right? Because again, like they don't, I think, eventually down the line, we will get to a point where language isn't necessarily a thing because we're seeing with like Gen Z and below, like they just accept people for who they are. They're like, hey, are you a good person? Are you not? Like, do we share the same the same hobbies, or do we same to say the same view? Like how,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they'll build community. Whereas, we had so much division that actually a lot of communities came
Mm-hmm.
together out of, again, fear. Whereas they are able
Mm-hmm.
to connect. Like we've seen it on TikTok. Why was TikTok a threat? And they said it was a young and an old issue, not a left and a right. Because the thing is, this is people are learning more. They're learning, and I know
Mm-hmm.
Red Note might not be the best at, but there was a perception of what kind of people in China were like, and people in China were like, "Hey, we thought you were like this." And what I thought was
Mm-hmm.
really cool that first day, I haven't really been on Red Note, but the first day was when
Mm-hmm.
the Americans were like, "Right, we're not here to colonize this app. We're not doing what we normally do," and then the people from Red Note, the Chinese folks were like, "You can come here, but you need to behave. Like you need
Yeah.
to respect us.
These are the rules.
Yeah, don't break them." Right, we're welcoming you, and this is it. The Americans were like, look, they've welcomed us into their home. Like, let's not do what we normally do. And again, it
Right.
was the younger generation because they're so aware because when they're taught things, they were so like my niece, for example, she like put her hand up and she was like, why are we not learning about this XYZ in PHSE? And she,
Mm.
we should be learning about this, and they were like, okay, well, once a month you decide what we learn, and she got the students to decide what they learn. She was like, because all this stuff's going on in the world, why are we not talking about it,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And the same with her friend. I think he must have been about really good, like he must have been about six, and he went to
Yeah.
school like, did you know that it's Black History Month? um
Mm.
and why are we not doing it? So he was at 6 years, he did a little presentation because
Wonderful.
they demand to be seen. They demand to be, whereas we
And I'm all for it. I'm all for it
and
because there was, I think it was last year, there were a lot of teachers online saying these kids are so unruly. These kids Don't listen. These kids, really getting on a generation of children that are just one, they're standing up for their autonomy and rights as a person, meaning you do not get to touch me the way you want to touch me. You do not get to speak to me the way you speak to me. And I have this children's line called Gentle Reminders, where it's just things like, um, I'm your mirror. Okay, remember I'm your mirror. I get respect from your respect. It's kind of like it's like you have to be the example.
Yes.
And so this hierarchical bullshit has to go away. This is a little human that you brought into the world, not the other way around. And you don't get to use them as a version to kick your kicking bag because you're frustrated, because you were oppressed, because that's what was done to you. Look at the world. I don't think it worked.
No.
I
And
don't
I
think
think
it worked.
I've always said to all my nieces and nephews, if you get into trouble for doing the right thing, you will never be in trouble with me. I said, if you
Thank
want
you.
to come down the school and have a protest and whatever, I said, you just call me and I'll bring snacks. Do you know what I mean? Because never, ever, I said, you'll never be in trouble for me for doing the right, for standing up for what you
Yeah.
believe in, and doing the right thing. I said, you'll never be in trouble and empowering them, like, um, in that way. I think my
Yeah.
friend, so one of my really good friends, I'm sure she won't mind, but her daughter she's fantastic at art. So they said, build, I want you to draw something controversial. So she did. She did here in the UK we call the police pigs. So she did a pig in a police outfit, and they were
Same
which
in
was
the US.
which was brilliant. And then they rang my friend and was like, "Oh, just so you know, and she was like, "But you told them to be controversial. You told them to be creative, and this is kind of where the world is. So you can't tell children to. And this is what we see in the workplace, like bring your whole self to work. Just not that.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you either accept people for their entirety, or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people have a hard time with that because hegemony programmed us the opposite. It's like what is it? Uh, don't do as I do, but do as I say. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And it's just really hypocritical and it's very unsustainable as well. That's the
yeah.
part. Everything that we have in this world is so unsustainable.
That's when our mental health, our spiritual health, our physical health is impacted. And Shani, you'll know this. So, um, kind of what, how many months ago? Last October. I've always been quite outspoken, but I was like, right, this is the rawity of life. Like life sometimes, and we've always been told, especially like in the South Asian community. I don't know how much it is in the Black community, but you
Hmm.
almost like you put on this facade, right? You put on this facade, and I know, um, that I had people in the South Asian community like looking like, oh, why is she talking about this? Why is she talking about the fact that she's got no income? Why is she asking for help? Why is she doing? Because why is she not just, pretending that everything's okay? No, because what
Mm.
happened then was so many other people came to me and went, yeah, me too, right? Me as well,
Hmm.
going through that as well. I hear you. I've had this as well. Um, because we have just been taught to just put on this facade and handle it. Whereas actually,
Hmm.
that's what they want. They want this individual approach. Not we are. I don't like the term self-care. It really annoys me because I know that when I'm down and out and I can't even get out of bed, I can't look after myself. I need my people to come look after me and pull me back up again. So for me, this whole concept of self-care is, I really struggle with it because for me, it's about collective, it's about community care. Because I want people to be like, hey, you're not yourself. Are you okay? I'm coming over. I'm bringing snacks. You'll notice the theme. There's a snacks there all the time. Um, but I have a friend
Hmm.
she said to me, she said, you've done so much healing work. She said, but we need to pour back into you. So I booked us a spa day, because she could tell I was tired and I was exhausted. But this self-care aspect, again, it makes you isolate, and that's what they want. They want people to isolate themselves. But we have this
True.
within our own communities where we are just like, okay, just pretend everything's okay, pretend's fine, pretend your marriage is okay, pretend your relationship with your family is okay, pretend this is okay, pretend you love your job regardless of the fact that you're being bullied and there's discrimination and your CEO keeps making sexual remarks at you, it's fine. But just outwardly play the and I did that for a while. I've got ADHD, I'm master. And what did it turn into? It turned into physical, pain, chronic pain, turned into autoimmune disease. It turned into break,
Yes.
so when we don't, it still needs to come out and our bodies will manifest it in different ways. So mentally, I'm generally okay. But when I know I need to stop is when my body hits me. It hits my body.
Right. Right. And women suffer this the most. Women suffer this the most. And yeah, it's I I often tell my clients to that healing is an isolating experience, unfortunately. Um, it's like being in this bubble where you want to regenerate. That's the best way I can say regenerate and heal yourself. And you have these external factors, whether it's family, relationships, society. These are all toxic things right now. And so it's really hard sometimes to have that concept that you're talking about with friends and family if they're not on board with your healing process. And so they're always kind of pulling you back into that lower energetic field.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so I kind of keep a little bit of an open door when it comes to it. Now, if you've got a community, people, and there's tons of people like us out there, we're doing this work, we're on this podcast. Um, it's just that sometimes protecting your energy
Yeah.
seems, yeah, is difficult, especially if you've had a lot of trauma. And we were talking about it earlier as well. If you are always naturally a giving and healing person, there's a lot of people who will take advantage of that. Matter, those are the narcissists of the world.
100%. And I was talking to a friend of mine and he said, and it really stuck. And this is how he said, when it all gets too much, just remember, honey, you're the light, right? He said, and light will always overcome darkness. He said, so there has been times where people have been distraught and I've not been okay. Like what I'm seeing, of course it impacts you, but I've known that actually what I'm here to do is my purpose. And again, it's really people will sometimes think I'm crazy. I've said like I go stand outside in the mud with no shoes on. I'll go and hug a tree, but nature, it's all been given to us. But we've been, people that do that are a bit like woo woo or whatever. But
Mm,
I had a day, and I was speaking to I think it was Maureen, and she said, "Why don't you go out in nature? You haven't been out for a bit." And I was
mm,
really at the point where everything was just too heavy. And I went out for a walk and I found a little forest in our local park. And I just sat, and water is something that really comforts me. And there was like a little bit of water, and it was the rain is a thing for me. And I just sat on the lot and I just kind of spoke into, you know, um, God, the universe, and I just said, like, is this going to work? Like, am I going to be okay? Because I don't know how much I can take. I genuinely don't know if I can carry on. I am exhausted. I'm tired. It's too much. And literally within like 2 seconds, the rain just started to pour, like straight.
mm,
It just poured all over me. I was sitting in the rain
mm.
and I cried. I just like had a really good cry. And I was like,
Beautiful.
that's all I needed to know. I got up, I had a little walk, and I went home and I picked myself up and I carried on because I was like, and if we are not able to really kind of go inside ourselves, believe in something more, look for the sign because they're there. The signs are there that you need to move forward.
Everywhere.
Know that you have your strength.
Mhm.
If you don't look for them, then it becomes really tough. And I needed to just get soaked in rain that day because for me, that's
Mm,
enough to know that actually you're going to be okay. Just one foot in front of the other.
absolutely. Absolutely. Mm.
I have to go. I have another call at 5:30.
Yeah,
Please
I was
carry
just about to
on.
say, Shahana, is there something you, because
Bye.
we have to wrap it up soon. All right, Shahana, see you
Bye.
next time.
Bye.
Bye. But that was something that I've always encouraged a lot of people to do, which is just allow yourself to feel, and connecting with nature is a big thing for me too, whether it's gardening. I am one of those people that hugs trees. I'm
It,
constantly barefoot.
it's good. Like, and you don't realize like nature's there for a reason, right? We get our oxygen
It's
from, of
healing. It's
course.
healing. See,
Yeah.
they programmed us to disconnect from who we are. Everything is interconnected. There's no that's a tree because hmm, our mind was programmed to say that's a tree.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they programmed us to say the tree looks like this. So this is the tree. So that's what our mind manifests in front of us. But it's like you know, the quantum physics quantum mechanics explaining us to us now that, wait a minute, when we don't look at that thing over there, it's not necessarily a tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So this is our ability to make things as they are is programmed into us as a child
Yeah.
and reinforced. But what would it be if we didn't say it was a tree?
Yeah. It's
Mm,
just it's a source of energy.
it's
It's a
a
source,
source of energy.
right?
It's a source.
Uh,
So that just reinforces we're creating this entire reality. But unfortunately, there are people who are programming us to create a reality that benefits them rather than the one that's behind
yeah,
us.
yeah. And I think
Behind
that's
it.
to normalize. We have to normalize people. There's a real sense of entitlement that actually,
Hmm.
this planet is gifted to us, right? How like the amount of
Hmm.
people that we own this, and eventually that's why we have natural disasters because the energy will say enough is enough. So I think
Yes.
we all have to really start looking at because all of these things are not new, right? Our ancestors did it. Like
No.
I know my great grandmother, she was a healer within like the village. And she never, pharmaceutical medicines weren't a thing. So now when people are like, Hannah, have you tried turmeric? I'm like, please don't. Like turmeric is in my gene, right? Please stop. Um, but also all of these things, and that's what she used to do, right? She was like the nurse of
Hmm.
the village in Uganda. But did she have a qualification? Absolutely not. But how do we, it's almost
No.
taking us back to how we sit within and I remember my brother saying to me, he said on like mum's side, he's like, there's definitely a lot of spirituality there, and then we've picked up on it. So this
Good.
it sits within us. We just have to allow ourselves to break free from the norms,
Remember.
right?
Remember.
But also
Yeah.
this, if people want to think we're crazy, cool, whatever. But I know my intuition doesn't fail me. I know that if I listen to my body, it will tell me. If I close my eyes and I don't know what to do next, it will come to me. We need to start
Hmm.
trusting ourselves more than we do everything else around us.
Yes, especially when everything around us and outside of us within this matrix is very toxic and has failed us. And I know a lot of people are grieving the illusion and the glamour of this world, especially in the US. And what I invite everybody listening to this podcast to do is sit with that, but also be happy because now you can reimagine and create something better, you know?
And that's the
Allow us allow us all to do that. And I think that we'll be better off. So um, anyways, I gotta jump on my next call. I have a client in 5 minutes. And I'm so grateful that you were able to
Me
make
too.
it,
What a
Hannah. I
good start to
missed
my
you.
day, right? What a good start. I'm gonna go do
So
some pharmaceutical drugs now at my hospital appointment.
all right. Thank you to everybody who is listening, and we'll see you next time.